So I think it wouldn't be, I think we would be incomplete to not talk just really briefly, Nicki, about your feminist awakening and
Oh, yeah, right.
and
Okay.
what, kind of like, I guess you told us all these bows you were tied up
Right,
tied to the church, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you had been pushing down your inner voice for decades.
Yes,
living everyone else's life.
To make sure everyone else was happy and
Yeah.
content. And
then all of a sudden all the bows disappeared.
they did.
And what was that like for you?
Well, it was kind of unsettling at first. It was like, what do I do? Who am I? What do I believe? So there was a lot of internal things happening, like, okay, what with the church do I want to keep? And what do I need to let go? And so when I figured that out, then I was like, okay, this value, this principle, this moral is important to me, and I get to have that be part of who the new Nicki is, And it was so exciting because I didn't have limits. It's still so exciting. I don't have limits, and I get to grow in whatever area and whatever way I want. And of course, I value my husband's opinion and love him. He's part of me. We've been together for 22 years plus, been married 22 years, and he's my best friend, and he's my companion in this world right now, and I wouldn't want to be with anybody else because we have history and we know each other, and I'm so glad that we were able to come out of this together, because as difficult as it was, I'm glad our marriage could sustain it, because it got rocky.
So once you had your feminist awakening, but your whole relationship had been built on a patriarchy,
right?
How did that become hard for you? What things did you start noticing? And what became hard? It
became hard, the verbiage that Lance was using, I noticed did not sit well with me.
Any examples?
I don't know. It's still coming out, I guess. Kind of like
it's a work in progress.
It is. It's a work in progress, because I'm learning to find that voice to say, no, that's not okay to speak for me, or interrupt me, or assume or that sort of thing. So he's been very good, and I definitely want to recognize him for that he has put forth a lot of effort to change his patterns and the way that he speaks, and to branch away from that patriarchal personality in our marriage, because it doesn't fit with either of our personalities now. So I do want to give you credit for changing that. And for me, I just feel like I feel so free to be able to be the mother that I want to be. I felt so trapped as a mother, teaching my kids things, but wanting to teach them differently. And I feel so liberated to be able to reach out and grab something if I want, or to get rid of something if I want. If I don't want a value or a stipulation on myself, I get to release that. Nobody else, And I think Lance and I started working in the business again together, and it's never worked out in the past. And it has been such a fun experience this time going around, because there's an equal level of respect, and there's equality.
Yeah.
And we're being more intentional in our actions and our words and our thoughts.
And Lance, what was it like for you to realize that you had been part of the patriarchy?
Yeah, it was. It's horrific. I mean, it is such an eye-opening experience. Coming from feminism is like this dirty word, right? In Mormonism, I mean, to be a feminist is should not, you just don't want to have that kind of be associated with that. And so for me, being the man of the family, being the person that is supposed to give the final answer on things and to have the expenses and earn the money and all of the traditional typical things, it's been very eye-opening how often I catch myself, and obviously she catches me, of I'm not acting as equal as I should be, equitable. And so
was there a story you wanted to tell that represented your awakening, your feminist awakening?
Well,
or not?
I would love to. The thing about it is when I started to realize everything, I realized what patriarchy does and how it has held women back forever, right? And I get frustrated myself because all I wanted for Nicki when we were dating and going on missions was to be more sure of herself and have her own,
growth.
Yeah. And, but just like my dad did, I continued this patriarchy way,
Oh yeah.
I did the same thing, and every time that she would say, "I don't think that's right," I'd go, "But I'm the priesthood leader." It wasn't bad, but there was that authority, and so.
Well, and I played into it too. I didn't stand up,
Yeah,
I believed in the priesthood authority myself.
Yeah. And so as I start to look at this, and I go clear back to Joseph Smith with all of these women and how he treated his wife and women in general, and I just go, I don't want anything to do with this. I watched part of conference, just this last conference, and I look up there, and all of these men are up there on the stage, right? And you get these few, token women that are there because of an uproar, right? If it wasn't for women uproaring, all there would be is men up there on the stage. And so, I look at this and I look at the bishopric, the high councilman, everything is ruled by a penis. I mean, it is. And why? Why? And so, sorry, but... it just dawned on me, what have I been doing to Nicki? Nicki's been struggling and trying so hard her whole life to be that independent, confident woman, and I haven't helped out one bit with our religion. And when we get down to it, I think about the temple, and so it was when we were really getting into the feminist thing. I went to her and I took her in the patriarchal crypt, and I said,
disrespectful.
I said, "Hello, Emma. I'm Nephi," and I'm sorry, but that was just such a big thing to me because I was gonna hold that. For those that don't know, it's your temple name. It's this new name that you get in the temple, and I was gonna hold that for Nicki the whole rest of my life. She's never gonna know my name. I'm gonna know something about her that she will never know about me.
Her name.
My name. She has no clue who she's supposedly married to, in the next life, until I come and pull her up and call her by her new name out of the grave, right? And then does she ever even get to know my name? We don't know. I mean, it's never told. And so I was just like,
Why can't you just keep your own name, by the way?
Right?
Well, and then come to find out,
that's a cult tactic to give
it
you a new
is.
name,
I
right?
know.
Any
exactly.
cult, they rename you.
Well,
So, I mean,
and in
weird.
Masonry, I mean, that was part of the Masonic thing, was to get a new name in Masonry. And so to be holding that such an arbitrary, thing at this point, again, is completely sacred. And I'm sorry if you think that we're being flippant or terrible. But look, I just said my new name and the heavens didn't open and I'm not dead right now. And I look at the Book of Mormon and how much God was playing and toying with their lives, and how we just don't have that, in our real lives, but this patriarchy, I gotta get rid of that in our life, in our marriage. It holds our, it holds our women down. That's the wrong thing to say. It holds women down. They're not ours, I really struggle with that. And so every day I'm catching myself going, I got to be a little bit better than yesterday at this, and we're slowly working through it. But I look at our daughter and, all of our kids, but our daughter especially, because I knew the hell that Nicki went through going into those bishops' interviews by herself, and that I was going to send my lamb into the slaughter, because I've been told and directed, and this has been the process my whole life. And I didn't want that for my daughter. As a man, no, I am not going to allow her to sit across a desk from some old guy and tell him her most intimate details about her life. That is not going to happen.
Not just her life, her sexual life.
Her sex life, yeah. And so
that's wrong.
Jason jumps in to say that Masons don't give each other new names.
Oh.
So apparently that's us.
Huh, interesting. I thought that I had read that.
No.
Back
I
in the 1800s with it. But.
So your daughter, Nicki, are you thrilled to kind of be breaking the cycle a little bit with women and
Yes, and the thing is I think my real motherly teachings that I wanted to teach and couldn't, I think I kind of still did, because she came out of the church just like, it was a little hard for her emotionally, but this girl, she is just like, nothing's gonna get me down. No one's gonna tell me what, she's very opposite of what I was when I was her age. So, yeah, to answer your question, I'm really happy to break that cycle.
For yourself and
for myself and for her and
for
for whoever else comes along.
Because patriarchy hurts men.
Yeah.
Doesn't just hurt women.
Yep.
You're right.
And it hurts society, every time, and I look back at the quotes from the leaders in the 60s and stuff, with the ERA movement and stuff. The church was against women having equality. It's dumbfounding at this point, but that, the church doesn't want women to have rights. This, what did you call it? Your, I can't, well, I guess it's just your bows, but, the gilded cage set on a pedestal. That the women are they're the most beautiful creatures that we just should respect and keep them up on a pedestal. But don't let them out of that cage.
Because we'll bite.
Yeah. And what man wants a woman to bite him? That's a funny thing. But seriously, when we have to work together in our marriage, and I can't just put my foot down and say, no, this is going to be the way it's going to be, that takes work. And there's a lot of people that don't want to do that kind of work. I would much rather have it that, like in business, no, this is the way it's going to be done.
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss, and this is the way it's going to be. We can't have that. We've got to have it be much more of equality in it. So our daughter, she was really struggling as a young girl, and we left when she was 12. And she continued to struggle for a while, but man, she has really come out of that so much better than I think that she would have ever been in the church. Ever.
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful that we were able to leave when we did and get our kids out when they did. Our son Hayden, he was already really questioning the church when we were active members, and we really had some struggles with him. But going to to where, you know, he's locked himself into our bathroom because he's, you know, got some little things on his phone, you know, and I'm kicking down the bathroom door because I'm so worried about what he's doing as a teenager, you know, like it's crazy. And now the discussions that we have are so amazing. I mean, they can be so deep, and we can go down every aspect. We don't have to worry about hurting their testimony. Oh, you haven't, you know, delved into this enough to really talk about that. And, you know, blacks in the priesthood. Now I can just say, you know, they were a bunch of racists. You know, they really were. And we can go and talk and have...
Well, we don't even really talk about religion much anymore. Now it has evolved into real conversations about real things on this earth that are happening. Yeah. And it's so nice. I was just telling Lance on the way here, it's so nice to sit on the sidelines and watch my kids become who they want to be, you know, and I'm happy for them and proud of them. If I would have been in the church, if they would have done anything but go on a mission, get married in the temple, they would have been a disappointment.
Yeah.
And they really wouldn't have, but now we don't have to have those boundaries, and it's fun to sit back and watch our kids.
Our relationships with our kids just changed night and day between, you know, when we left compared to when we left.
We just had our son experience death for the first time, and it was surprising to it just keeps sneaking up on me, all this freedom that I have and all this liberation, and to be able to sit and talk with him about death and ask him what his thoughts and feelings were and what he believes, and validating that and sharing what I think and not sharing what he thinks. And of course they're all three different perspectives, but boy, that's what mattered to him. You know, that having that support and being able to talk about things, not being told how things are, but discussing. You know, it was just really refreshing.
Yeah.
So Nicki and Lance, there's so much more you guys have that you've written in terms of notes. I think we should probably wrap up.
I think so.
Even though I know there's a lot more wisdom to share.
I understand. You can only talk for so long.
No. I just think I want to make sure that the story with Marlon and the story about you know, your feminist awakening and how that connected, that was so beautiful. I just don't want to do anything to dilute that.
Sure.
So our listeners have been we still have over 100 listeners tuned in. They've been really great. But if each of you wanted to prepare kind of some closing thoughts or statements, or just, you know, if you were to summarize, and I'm really curious what you would say to your dad, you know, now.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
You know, and if that informs any advice you'd give to people. Maybe it'd be repetitive, but who wants to go first and kind of give a closing testimony, so to speak?
You want to end us? You want to go first?
Why don't you go first, Lance?
Okay.
And we'll give...
All right. So, my closing statements. Holy cow. Yeah, all I can say is, if I can have one word of advice to anybody, there's a good analogy of a bottle. I've got this bottle of water right here. And John, you don't know me from Adam. You just met me, you know, very recently. If I told you to drink this water, you know, this liquid, would you?
I'd be concerned.
You'd be concerned, right? There's certain things. If I told you that no, it's water, right? It's clear like water. It's in a bottle like water. I mean, there's some pretty good indicators that it's water, but you really don't know, right? If you only trust my testimony and what I do, then you know, and that's what is going to give you the faith that this is actually water and not going to kill you. You know, is that good enough for you? Is it good enough to depend on you know, these scriptures, what other people have written down for your life and what is important for you? And you know, there's so many other ways we can test this with the chemicals. We can put a litmus test on it and see what its acidity is and all that kind of stuff. There's so many more ways that we could go after this to make sure that this is actually water before we go and taste it. And I think that I just want to put that out there to everybody in life is don't depend on one person. We have a multitude of options in our life right now. And for us, we can't be held down by just one way of thinking. We've got to look at everything. It's if we only look at one way, we may be drinking that poison and not realizing it. And I don't mean to say that the church is poison. There's certainly good things that the church does, but there is a lot of people that it hurts also. And the problem is, and we get to the crux of it all the time, is this is supposedly God's one true church on the earth. The only way to get back to God. Again, like my mission president said, if you drink one drop of coffee and you don't repent of it before you die, you will not go and live with God again. And I know that there's nuances and everybody has their specific brand of faith. But as a whole in the church, that is what it's about. And I just look at things now and I just go, why didn't I go and search every available avenue to make sure that I was actually getting at the truth? It's so important to me. There's a lot of things I kind of honed in on Rock Waterman with his new scriptures and stuff, right, that he's creating.
Deborah Snuffer,
thank you. And I really, spent a lot of times, and I've got these scriptures, and look, John's like, what the heck's going on, right? So I made up my own scriptures because I figure why not, right? So here's the beginning. The first book of Lance, chapter 1, it says, "Be kind, be kind," and that's it. All the rest is dogma. All the rest just says, be my kind of kind. Be my kind of a person. So that's the only thing that I want to leave with people.
Is the book of Lance. Be kind.
Be kind.
You see that? Book of Lance.
I mean, you get these things and you get God justifying incest, killing kids. The Navajos, we didn't even get into it, but the Navajos think that they're a cursed nation with dark skin because their ancestors rejected the gospel. It is sickening to me. This was the hardest thing. I didn't want the Book of Mormon to not be true because I had such a huge love for it. And when I found out what it was, that it wasn't true and that this racist book, I'm sitting there telling people about this book that is giving a lie to their ancestry, and now we don't even know who the Lamanites are. The church is backing off of all of those things now. It's just too much for me. Be kind. There is no reason to sit there and read the ramblings of people, ages ago who had no knowledge. And everything. Anyways, I don't know. My dad. That is the two regrets that I have in life is one, converting 34 people on my mission, telling those Navajos a fake story about their rich cultural and ancestral history, and two, how I treated my dad. My dad was the greatest guy on earth. He was the greatest dad that you could have. And, I treated him like scum, like less than nobody, because nobody I don't care about. My dad, I actually, treated him and felt bad, felt anger towards him and hatred towards him. And all I can say is, if there is some possibility that he's around, that he knows how much I love him. And how sorry I am. He did not deserve to be treated that way. Anyways.
Thank you, Lance.
I think mine's just simple. Be intentional.
Be intentional. What do you mean?
I mean, be intentional with everything you say to somebody, everything that you do. And, of course, we all judge, we all look around and say, hey, he shouldn't be doing that, or I shouldn't be doing that, or whatever. But, if we can just have compassion, if we can just be intentional, sometimes it's okay to not be kind, Sometimes it's okay to be angry. Sometimes it's okay to stand up for yourself. But whatever you do, be intentional and make sure you're doing it for whatever reason you're doing it. Make sure it's a good reason. Make sure that it's your reason. Make sure that whatever you are intentionally doing fits in your moral compass. And you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong if you do that. And just make connections. I feel like that's what this life is all about, is making connections and learning and feeling feelings and enjoyment in life.
Enjoy this life.
It's just, I'm grateful every day that I get to get up and choose. And sure, some days are crappy and I make really bad choices sometimes that have consequences, but every day I'm happy.
Beautiful. Great stuff. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, John. So I want to just, if we're closing.
No. Oh, go ahead. We still have to say goodbye to our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you've been putting the call out there, and I have not. I got pretty standoffish about donating anything to any organization after getting screwed over by the church. So I have not been a monthly donor to you, but I have listened to probably every one of your podcasts, and Nicki is actually just starting to listen to them herself. So I'm presenting a check to you for $500, man. For the Open Stories Foundation for your cause.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you, John. You going through your faith crisis and trying to make it work, and all the ins and outs and everything. But in the end, just all the stories, they have helped me immensely.
And me.
Yeah.
And our kids.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good. Well, it's been, I called it an epic story. And I think it's remained epic. I think you guys totally met expectations. But it's been a fantastic story, and I just want to thank you both, Nicki and Lance, for sharing, being so vulnerable. So many of the listeners said you're helping people, you're making a huge difference. So many of our listeners were touched, and I think you're probably going to change lives and save some lives through this interview. So I just want to thank you guys for that amazing story. I want to thank all of those who have tuned in, either on Facebook Live. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and your comments and questions. I want to thank everyone who's listening on the podcast or through YouTube. I always want to thank the donors. I mean, I appreciate this so much. This doesn't go to me. My salary is set. This goes to the foundation, and we're transparent with our finances. And this money goes to support the mission of the nonprofit. So this goes to save marriages. This goes to prevent children from killing themselves who are LGBT. This goes to prevent husbands and wives from divorcing each other, for parents from estranging their children, to create workshops and retreats where people can share their experiences and not feel so alone, and build community, just like the type of community you experience. Mm-hmm. That's what the Open Stories Foundation does full time. We're creating community and content and support to help people in their transition. So thank you so much for that. Thanks to all of you who have donated, who have helped to make the Open Stories successful. If you value these interviews, please consider a donation. Those donations are tax deductible, and they go exactly to what you put the money towards, which is saving lives, saving marriages, bringing families together, preventing depression and anxiety, and helping people build a beautiful and healthy life once orthodoxy doesn't work for them anymore. And that can be in the church, and that's why we've got Mormon Matters and A Thoughtful Faith to support people who want or need to stay in the church. And then we've got Mormon Stories and Mormon Transitions and others for people wherever they need to go. So thanks for tuning in. Please donate. $10 or $20 a month can keep us alive if you can do a recurring donation. As always, just to close, Cody, you can't see Cody behind the scenes, but he's been manning the mixer and the cameras. I want to thank Cody Layton for joining us on the Open Stories Foundation. Your donations go to make it so Cody can do all the audio and video editing and post-production and post all this stuff on the internet. So Cody, thanks for your help. And of course, Amy Grubbs is our Director of Operations, and she makes all this possible along with our Board of Directors. So this has been wonderful. And
thank you.
And this continues our series on interviews with general authorities. If you've got a story about a meeting with a general authority, we'd love to hear it. We're going to be showing a few more over the next few days and weeks. But this was a great one. So again, Lance and Nicki, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And everyone out there on the internet, thank you. Take care. And all those watching on YouTube and listening, please tune in again soon for another episode of Mormon Stories Podcast. Check us out at mormonstories.org. Take care, everybody. Thank you.